Okay, fourth and I think final of these early autumn updates. So this dovetails into the last one, which I began getting into a conversation about emptiness. So how I came to this was in a shift in my experience of time. I was trying to get at, it's always been difficult for me to understand how Advaita Vedanta asserts that time is not actually experienced, that the past and the future are an illusion. And I realized the other day that somewhere along the line that stopped being problematic for me. And I had to rewind a little bit and look back and go, what happened to my time sense? How come I no longer have a linear sense, a sense of like past, present, and future, and cause and effect, like I kind of have always had in my life, and then suddenly now it doesn't look like that to me anymore. So I want to just capture that a little bit here. So there's a video that I'll put a link to this down in the description, but there's a philosopher, a brilliant philosopher, British philosopher, young man named Benjamin Davies. And Benjamin Davies, he wrote a book called The Shape of Knowledge, which I'm about a quarter of the way through, but he also has a YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to the video I'm about to reference down there. He's got this video called, I think the title is I Can't Explain It Any More Simply Than This, or I Can't Say It More Simply Than This. And in it, he describes the manifestation of the One, how the One manifests. And the description, as near as I can tell, is a good match for Ajativada, which is the school of thought in Vedanta that asserts that not only is nothing ever created, nothing even appears to come into existence. There's not even the appearance of existence, and it's such a radical school of thought that it's like there's not really teaching that comes from it. It's from the point of view of the One. From the point of view of the One, right? Nothing is ever created, and nothing even appears to be created. There's not even the appearance of reality, and that's so that diverges so radically from our experience that it's difficult for a lot of people to wrap their minds around. But I think Benjamin Davies does it nicely, although he himself, I've written with him about this, he himself denies that it's Ajativada, but I believe it fits pretty well. So in this video, and I highly recommend you go watch it, he begins with consider that in the inherent emptiness of the universe is the possibility of all potential universes. The universe itself is essentially empty, and all that is there is potential, right? And he's talking about this as if the universe has a discrete beginning, like where things began, which I don't subscribe to, and I don't think Advaita subscribes to, but he has to frame it that way as a concession to time for this particular video. So in the early universe, or just in the universe as it actually is now, it is essentially empty. And in that emptiness, it's not even nothing. There's no existence nor non-existence. Even to say that something doesn't exist applies existence in the first place, which is impossible for that early universe. So in the space of neither existing nor not existing, not even nothing. All there is potential, and it's infinite potential. And because it's infinite potential, we can imagine that there would be a universe that could become, or that could develop the ability to reflect upon itself. Now let's imagine a universe like that, that had that progressed along the optimal path for the creation of sentient life, right? Humans, for instance, if you think we're sentient. Anyway, so in such a universe, it would reflect upon the possibility of its existence, if it could exist, which of course it doesn't. And in that reflection, it would develop ever more complex justifications, reasons for why it might exist, if it did, which of course it doesn't. And we could imagine that those reflections, those self-reflections, and justifications and reasons could become so compelling that it actually would begin to believe in its own justification. The justification itself becomes the purpose for existence and becomes existence itself, which of course it doesn't actually exist, but it's within its self-reflective justification that it appears to exist to itself. So anything that can justify its existence to such degree that there's no room for doubt that it could exist, that is sufficient for it to exist within that, for its existence to be acknowledged and become, and an entire evolution springs into existence spontaneously. Benjamin does a much better job of walking through this than I do. But essentially what we're looking at there is how emptiness gives rise to apparent form. How apparent somethings can arise out of apparent nothing. And that's, again, to me, that is a pretty good philosophical basis for Ajativada. The reason why I mention that is because this is how I have come to an understanding of how I see time now. So if we begin from the assumption that the universe, that the one, is inherently empty, that there is no stuff, there are no things, there are no people, there are no objects, then the whole notion of time starts to fall apart. It's not like before now there was nothing, and now in the midst of now there is something, right? And then that something now exists. It's not like things get created spontaneously from the empty future out there. Now there is something, and then we can look at that something in the past. It's not like that. It was empty before before now arrived. It's empty in the now, and it's empty after the now has passed. If you want to look at it in terms of linear time as a concession to linearity, we can say it was empty before, it's empty now, and it's empty after. But how long is that experience of now? How much time does that take? How much space does that occupy? When you start to really dig down into how long is that? Is it a second? Is it a microsecond? Is it a nanosecond? Femtosecond? An attosecond? How long? Does it even have any duration? Because if it has any duration, that duration could be halved. And we could make it, oh, though it must be that half duration. Well, okay, has that duration? Okay, we could have that. Or we could divide that into a million. We could divide it infinitely. And so trying to understand now has no meaning if you try to understand it in terms of time. And if you can't understand it in terms of time, you can't understand it in terms of space either. It's empty either way. And so I was talking to an artist friend of mine we were about this. We were in a meditation group together just last week. They were talking about the process of creation. And here's the thing, like, before you started making that painting, the universe was empty. And then when you started making the painting, and as you made the painting, it was still empty. And once you finished, as soon as you finished that painting, it's still empty. The realness is not in the thing, and it's not in the time. There is nothing that's real, but it is really experienced. So it's not real. When I say it's not real, I guess what I mean is it's an illusion. It is real as an experience. The one that the one being is real. This universe is real. I mean, it's really here. But not in the way that we think of reality. Because the realness of it has nothing to do with time and nothing to do with space. It isn't real in that way. But it is really experienced. Like going back to Benjamin Davies, that reflection, that justification, that's real. If it existed, which it doesn't, right? Anyway, but it is really experienced. And that's amazing to me. I think that's might be good for now.